Hello, Leslie. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. And today we're here to be able to discuss more about global tech advocates, but also tech Singapore advocates and the region that you're also in charge of. So I really appreciate going through a few questions with you today to just tease out some great stories and help people understand how they can be introduced to you, how they can navigate within the region, and what else you'd like to tell them that would help them. So
great. Well, this is my favorite topic, Tracey. I could talk about this all day. So thank you so much for giving me the chance.
That's all right. Thank you so much. So I'll let you introduce yourself and just tell me, how did Tech Singapore Advocates come about?
Sure. So my name is Leslie Sarma. I'm the co-lead of Tech Singapore Advocates, as well as the regional lead for APAC, for the Global Tech Advocates Group. We define APAC the same way the British government does. So for us, APAC does not include India and China, where Global Tech Advocates has fabulous groups, the big groups that run on their own. And then for us, APAC is North Asia, Japan, and Korea, down through Southeast Asia, and into Australia, and hopefully soon to be New Zealand for us as well. Tech Singapore Advocates, I think, was in the sort of middle stage of global tech advocates development. I came to Singapore with my family, having spent about 11 years in London and being very involved with Tech London Advocates. I then moved to Singapore, and after a few years, it became apparent that global tech advocates was growing so quickly and that we needed a group in Singapore. My initial engagement, I think, in growing the Singapore group was very much in finding the right local partners, because I think one of the things we've learned as we've grown the global tech advocates community is that it absolutely has to come from the local ecosystem, that you can't overlay what worked in one market on another, because it has to really be about sort of the heart and soul of that particular ecosystem, what that community finds meaningful. So I was super lucky, and initially I viewed my role as sort of finding the right Singaporean partners, which we did. And I think it was an incredibly exciting time for Singapore. I think Singapore is obviously always been, or in recent history has been a leader, but certainly in tech, I think they've really engaged and invested. So there was huge interest and take up from within Singapore. And it's just been terrific fun and gone from strength to strength and grown. Perhaps more exciting, though, is that after the launch of Singapore, we became very focused on growing, particularly throughout Southeast Asia, and found some really spectacularly good partners across the region of Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand, all of whom are deeply committed, I think, to the global tech advocates sort of vision, and we're very committed now to each other. So each of the countries is, of course, represented individually within global tech advocates, but we also very much view ourselves as a group. We call it GTA SEAL for Southeast Asia leadership, and we look to expand that group with more Southeast Asian countries joining in as well. So it's been a terrific journey, and one that's really shaped and defined my time living in Southeast Asia and the relationships I built there.
Wow, that's really good to hear. And it's you've only not just gone to Singapore, but you've just basically blown out across the region. So that's really great to see.
I can't take full credit for that. That's hardly, it's not entirely my doing. I do think that there was a real interest in this type of community building in Southeast Asia. So I think we hit it at the right moment, because there was an increasing awareness of the value of network and the value of community, from all different types of groups. And I think GTA has been well received and welcomed. So it's been a wonderful growth across the region.
Well, that's great to hear. So I just wanted to, I know I wanted to ask you immediately now, actually, how does someone join Tech Singapore Advocates before we go into hearing really great stories about it?
So at Tech Singapore Advocates, we really embrace the sort of global tech advocates and Tech London Advocates ethos of inclusivity. There's no membership fees. I should say that straight away. There's no money involved. And we're open to anyone and everyone that sort of works in or around the tech ecosystem in Singapore. And frankly, we also have a lot of members that are sort of friends of Singapore, because Singapore is quite small. So, we have folks that have spent time in Singapore and left, or that are hoping to come to Singapore and looking for opportunities. So the group is really amorphous and large. In terms of our sort of process and how we see ourselves in the Singaporean ecosystem, we really view ourselves as signposters and as a community of communities. I say that because as I said before, Singapore is so small and so active. And I think we had the epiphany fairly early on that we didn't want to just add more noise. We wanted to make sure that everybody that was already doing good stuff got the right people at their events and in their initiatives. So I think we've sort of used our fairly benign presence because we're not selling anything, we're not asking for anything. We're truly about growing the ecosystem to engage with partners across Singapore, huge partners like Singapore FinTech Festival, down to tiny partners like a guy who runs a coffee morning, once a month for people that work in food tech, engaging all different types of partners and then helping to promote and drive what they're doing and making sure that our larger community knows about what everybody's doing. So I think our purpose is as much bringing people to other people's events as also people coming to us and saying, I'd like to do something, but I don't have a great network. And we say, use ours. That's great. If you have a good idea, we'd love to help you build it and share it and get folks to it. I think our goal is always to have the right people at the right events. And we don't have skin in that game necessarily because we're not monetized. We just want to see everybody making the most of the opportunities that Singapore already has, which are spectacular. So it's been a wonderful way to engage and to build relationships, and to really promote some fabulous stuff.
Wow. Okay, I've heard a couple of things that I really want to bring out there because I don't really see that happening as well in other places. So
Mm,
one key thing is that you've definitely partnered well, and that
yeah,
you really have brought the ecosystem together. So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're
I think
managing,
that's
yeah, you're
yeah.
managing to actually convene everyone to be more collaborative and co-create. Would you say
So
that's a good summary?
I think that's exactly right, and I think that was a. I mean, I think you've really said it perfectly and succinctly. Is that I think we never viewed ourselves as competing with anyone.
Yeah,
We always viewed ourselves as collaborating with everyone, and
yeah,
that's easy for us to say because we don't charge for membership fees. We exist by the kindness of others, so it puts us into a position of being able to go into every partnership saying, how can we help each other? Like, in other
yeah,
words, I'm never saying to Singapore FinTech Festival, I'm doing my own FinTech Festival and I want your, I'm saying, I
yes,
just want FinTechs to come. Like, I just want everybody to be a part of this. I just want the right people to get the most out of what's out there. And I think we built a reputation for being sort of benign in that
yeah,
way and really for being out about the greater good. And that actually then sort of opened doors for us. So it was sort of like a wonderful, what's the word? Like current that started with demonstrating that we really were about grassroots community building. And then people trusted us, and then they showed us more stuff, and then they trusted us more. And that sort of drove us through to this place where I think we're welcomed in a lot of different communities, and they're open to letting us help them because they
yes,
believe us that we're not trying to do something sinister. And that obviously takes time because you have to sort of put your money where your mouth, not your proverbial money where your mouth is, and build that reputation over time. But I think we've gotten there now.
yes,
And so we have wonderful community partnerships. And again, we're not saints. We get stuff out of this. What we get out of this is we get opportunities for our members to speak. We get venues for free. We get places where they buy us the drinks to serve at our, so in other words, it's a barter system. It's not as though we're doing this it's not a charity, but it's very much about sort of offering ourselves up as wanting to help build the ecosystem and then working with partners to get that done. And I think it's been really effective in Singapore. It's worked really well. And having said that, though, as we mentioned before, we've been really proactive about it. I mean, we've really gone out and sought out those partnerships and built them, and sort of had to be creative about how we could build relationships. But the longer you do it, and the more it grows, it's like ripples in a pond, and it gets
yes,
easier,
definitely.
and it starts to sort of almost build itself at a certain point.
Wow, that is a good thing that you have the viral effect, so to speak, in
Yes.
the tech scale up world. So that's really good. I just wondered if I could get you to share a couple of memorable experiences or milestones that you've had an experience within the GTA network. So that's also
Sure.
Singapore with SEAL, but also the rest of the globe as well. If there's anything
Sure.
helpful there.
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of fabulous experiences with global tech advocates, including very recently, just this past April, I was in Copenhagen, for along with the extraordinary Jeanette and Tech Nordic Advocates, which is its own extraordinary success story, perhaps the greatest success story in some ways of the global tech advocates community. And that was an unbelievable event. Obviously, it was about the Nordics, but it was about bringing the Nordics to the world and then sort of bringing the world to the Nordics. And I ran a roundtable at that event with one of the co-leads of our Tech Malaysia advocate group, who I know you know well, Raj Mandir. And there was just this sort of moment of looking around and realizing I'm sitting at a table in Copenhagen with my colleague from Malaysia talking about opportunities for Nordic countries, companies to grow and explore in Southeast Asia in very tangible terms, like very much like, okay, let me take your number and connect you to this person. I mean, unbelievable. How did we do this? How did Russ do this? And I think that's, like, again, one of those practical moments where you see it in action. And it's not an abstraction. It's very, very real, and also terrific fun. So I think that was a recent, very positive sort of global tech advocates in practice moment. And on the SEAL front and the Southeast Asia front, the piece that's been, I think, perhaps most meaningful in terms of getting us all together has also been UK Southeast Asia Tech Week. So the British government in the region in APAC does a UK Southeast Asia Tech Week every year now for the past few years. And they do it in different countries across Southeast Asia. They bring a big delegation from the UK and then get together both British people that are in the ecosystems in Southeast Asia, but also Southeast Asian people that are interested in the UK. And it has become now a real staple of our year as GTA SEAL. For the past 3 years, we've had an hour on the main stage as GTA SEAL to talk about global tech advocates and about what we do and how we can work together. And I think it's become a terrific opportunity for the leaders of our regional groups to get together. But it's also just become a really powerful opportunity to talk about Southeast Asia as a piece to a foreign audience. If I were just Singapore, and they said to me, Leslie, would you like to come to speak at UK Southeast Asia Tech Week? I would do that, of course. But I promise you, instantly somebody would ask me, what do you know about Vietnam? And my answer would be, well, not much. And that's not helpful. So the ability to say, here's what I know about Vietnam. I know Nicole, who's sitting next to me on this panel. So the ability to sort of call on these partners and peers across the region to tell a cohesive story, it's just hugely powerful. And I don't believe we would have the sort of, the sort of sway to get the piece we get each year at UK Southeast Asia Tech Week individually. I think it's as a group. And the group is because of Global Tech Advocates. Global Tech Advocates created the framework for us to build a Southeast Asian network. And that's gigantically important, I think, again, for the greater good in terms of presenting opportunities across the region. But as you know, also for me professionally, even things outside of Global Tech Advocates now, I need somebody in Thailand. I can call our partners in Thailand and say, how can you help? And we've done that. We've all done that. So I think we've really now built a network within a network that's working and that's really powerful. And that's absolutely thanks to the GTA structure.
Wow. Okay, that's really great to great examples that can really help others in other regions to also think about how can they apply similar type of thinking into their space. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much, Leslie. So another question then to ask you is around the perspective of how GTA and also Tech Singapore Advocates and SEAL are helping shape the future of the global tech ecosystem. I just wondered if you've got any thoughts about that and how it's working.
Sure. Again, I think one of the things that's been interesting about SEAL is we spend a lot of time at each other's things. So this past year, I was in Ho Chi Minh, not even this past year, this past 6 months, I was in Ho Chi Minh City for UK Southeast Asia Tech Week, but I was also in Jakarta for a Kumpul event, who are our Indonesia partners. And so I've spent time in each of these markets with our groups there. I've spent time in the Philippines with Amor and her extraordinary group. So I think part of the answer to how we can shape things is that having an understanding about what the struggles are in each ecosystem and understanding sort of where are the gaps that we can fill. So
exactly. Yeah.
our Indonesian partner is doing an event, and they really need this is a hypothetical, but let's say they say, well, we really need to talk about VC opportunities because that's something we're struggling with, and I can say, all right, let me see who I can put together from the Singapore side to come and support that. So I think the way we're shaping it is by using the strengths of the other regions, or the availability of other regions to help bolster each other.
Wow.
And so I think I'm hopeful, and this is a slow burn. This is something we'll see over time, of course, that the way we shape it is by assisting each other in solving whatever the most pressing problems are in their specific countries are.
Yes.
And I think that's something we're very tuned into, is sort of how to use each other to plug holes, to grow. And so in that sense, I think hopefully we're shaping the tech ecosystems because we're helping people grow. I also think that fundamentally the digital universe is borderless, and that people are need help navigating that. So
Yes.
part of the way we are shaping this, and this is now no longer Southeast Asia, but it's the ethos and the mandate of global tech advocates generally, is by, through efforts like Launchpad, giving people opportunities to grow. Singapore is a great example. There are not enough customers in Singapore for any business. A startup in Singapore has to grow.
Yeah.
So we're shaping Singapore's tech ecosystem by helping people find opportunities to expand, which is essential. So I think that's the real gift of it.
That's really great to hear. And it begs the question then, for those listening and founders who want to be able to internationalize into the region, would you be able to sum up? And this is probably a question that you are asked many times. Would you be able to sum up in different countries within the region? What are the key advantages, or what are the key selling points? So say if there is a business coming in, they say, right, Leslie, I want to come in through Singapore, but where can I go next, and what's the next better route? Is that something you could just maybe give a bit of,
I mean it's a big question, and it's something that, so I mean, I think firstly I should say, for whoever's listening, I am always team Singapore, so I will always advocate for Singapore. That goes without saying. But I do think that Southeast Asia, and I think there are probably other regions in the world that are working on building this same collaborative thing, that in Southeast Asia we are increasingly focused on sort of spreading the wealth opportunities amongst the nations. Having said that, I think it's important within Southeast Asia, remember, it's absolutely not a monolith. It's not the EU. So we different regulatory systems in each country, massively different cultural issues, hugely different sort of in terms of evolution of digitization, different parts of the journey. Having said that, depending on what it is you make, what your product is, and sort of what you're looking to build, some countries may be more appropriate, more interesting as a place to start. Certainly Singapore is an extremely expensive place. So if you're a business that's looking to do a tighter shoestring, I think there's an opportunity then. Do you go to Ho Chi Minh first? Do you go to Bangkok first? Although those are increasingly now expensive as well. But I think there are opportunities from sort of an operational standpoint to explore other places. The other big thing about Southeast Asia is talent. Singapore is incredibly small, and the talent we have is extraordinary. I mean, it's the best in the world, but it's a small universe. As we all know, places like Vietnam have just got extraordinary folks working there. And of course, they can work for you remotely. You don't need to go there. But if that's something you're interested in, I think that'd be something you could lean into in some of those markets. I also think the other piece is understanding the differences in the geography of these places. So Indonesia, for example, is massive. And I think people sort of forget that Indonesia is just a huge piece of land. And there's massive opportunities to be part of the digitization. There's still rapid new digitization happening in Indonesia. So if your product and the thing you're building is something that helps folks get access to that, there's a lot of that still happening in other parts of Southeast Asia. So you sort of have Singapore at one end, which is extremely far down that road, and other places that are still building out. So again, I think it's a conversation that, thanks to GTA, I'm now able to have, in that people can reach out to me and say, we're thinking of coming to Southeast Asia, but we want to talk to someone in Malaysia, and I know exactly who to send them to. And I think that collaborative spirit is pretty powerful. I should add, we're not the only ones doing it. There's lots of people that I think are trying to build these sort of Southeast Asian networks. But because of the nature of GTA, it always feels just wonderfully supportive and engaged and friendly. So I think it's a great group to explore these questions with.
That's really good to hear, and I think that's important then to show how accessible and inclusive you are, and we all are. So I think that's key. So I just wanted then to end, for anyone considering joining the network, joining GTA, Global Tech Advocates, joining Singapore Advocates, joining SEAL, your region, what advice would you give to them on how they should come into the ecosystem, but also how to navigate throughout the ecosystem?
So the first thing I would say is it sounds very Luddite. It sounds very old fashioned, but just send me an email. Like, firstly, like my email is leslie@techsingaporeadvocates.com. My co-lead, Nikki Van Domberg, is nikki@techsingaporeadvocates.com. Like, just write to us. We will write back. Like, this is what we do. So please reach out. And I think that's true of the other leads as well, is we're all in this because we like meeting people and we like, so across the region. So the first point is, that's it. You're in. Welcome. Reach out. That's it. We've done it. In terms of, I think, sort of how to really maximize the engagement, beyond just sort of being on newsletters and learning about events, which, by the way, is enough. If that's what you want to get out of this, great. Like, that's exactly what we want. In Singapore, I think the thing that the great way to get involved with Tech Singapore Advocates is not just to read our materials, to hear about the stuff we already are partnering with, but tell us about the stuff you're going to. So if you find yourself coming on a business trip to Singapore and you're looking for an event to go to, write to us. You'll find tons of things to do on our site and our newsletter. But even more importantly, after you come to Singapore, if you found something that wasn't on our site or newsletter, tell us, because we'd love to connect with those people and make sure the next time they are on our site or newsletter. So we really do ask for sort of interactivity and reciprocity from our members. You don't have to host anything. Just tell us what you're up to. Tell us what seems fun, or tell us what events you can't find in Singapore, and then we'll try and find them and put them on our newsletter. So I think it's about sort of a constant feedback loop and understanding of what's happening. We are only as strong as the community is building the community. We're self-fulfilling prophecy. So we need people to sort of help us help each other. So please be in touch. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know what was great. Let us know what you wish there was more of. And we can then sort of go back to our ecosystem and try and build that. I think that's sort of the way we would ask you to engage with Tech Singapore Advocates, for sure. Globally, looking at all the different groups, which of course all run differently and have different styles and different metrics and different, KPIs or goals. I guess the main point for all of it, though, is it's about proactivity. That these groups are, for the most part, volunteer-led, volunteer-driven. So if you want to get involved, if you want to be a part of it, you're going to have to sort of put yourself out there and say, what can I do? What can I come to? How can I help? Or even better, I have an idea and I don't know how to get people to come to it, or I don't know how to get people to listen to it. I have something I'd like to write and I don't know how to get people to read it. That's exactly what we are here to help with, is taking these private sector voices, these private sector ideas, and pushing them out. So I think for most of the groups, it's not about us coming up with the ideas. It's about our membership coming up with the ideas, or having ideas already existing, in our case in Singapore, and then letting us make sure all the right people know about them. So I think the biggest piece of advice would be to seek out the leaders in your area, but come to them if this is what you're interested in, with some ideas, some thoughts on what you think is missing, what you think the value add could be. Come with some ideas. That's where the Global Tech Advocates Network shines, is because it can give you a framework for building that stuff out.
Wow, that's really great. Given great tangible action list there. So I love it. Thank you so much, Leslie. It's really helpful for everyone who wants to interact with Tech Singapore Advocates, but also overall with Tech Global Advocates, and in the way that they may want to start a community within their local region as well, and their local country. So I think that's really helpful. So I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you giving the advice, because that's really important for all of us to hear. And hopefully I look forward to more and more activities coming from your region and your area. So thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank you. And again, we mean it. If you find yourself in Southeast Asia, please reach out. I mean, I think one thing we have in common is that we're all incredibly proud of the places we live and incredibly eager to show them off and to get folks alive to the exciting opportunities there. So please reach out and let us welcome you. Thank you, Tracey.
I'm going to be there.
Good.
Okay,
Come
great.
on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.